Here, There and Everywhere. That was a glimpse of one of the tracks you can find on British Band Archive's 12th studio album. If you've just tuned into France 24, welcome to The Culture Show. I'm Marjorie Hache, and our guests today are Dave, Darius and Pollard from the band, who are with me in the studio to talk about the new record that comes out next month. But not only that, you've also got a documentary that's out on the 2nd of April that's called Super 8, A Call to Arms and Angels. Thank you for coming on the show, and congratulations for being so productive and busy. Now, talking of busy, you actually took part with Bob Geldof and Chrissy Hind for the fundraiser event, Night for Ukraine. Can you tell us a little bit about the night and the charity behind it?
Yeah, I mean, it was literally, we had a phone call. We were rehearsing for our promo trip, me and Pollard first, and Dave was going to come up on the Saturday, and we got a call just saying that, you know, would we be able to perform one song, Bullets. They wanted specifically Bullets to play. And
fitting.
because it's the anti kind of war song, and obviously, and basically, yeah, we just literally went down the next day, and there was crazy, a bit of chaos trying to organise this gig, but everyone was really nice, and you know, the charity, you know, it was a real success, I think, and you know, everyone was just very kind of humble and you know, humbled by the situation, you know, and I think
what is your particular personal links to Ukraine and the region? Do you have any ties? Have you toured there a lot?
Yeah, I mean, we have indeed played in Lviv, the western side of it. When was that? 2015?
Amazing, yeah.
16 something. Yeah. And of course, we know we have fans there, but I just think, you know, everyone can't help but be affected by what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it's just bigger than just the music or the fans. Obviously, it's everyone and everything. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately,
and a number of musicians and artists and actors have been quite vocal and critical of the British government and their intake of refugees. What's your take on the situation?
Typically British, unfortunately. It's you know, we do so much, but then when it comes to the crutch of things, sometimes we kind of bottle it a little bit, and yeah, I think there's other reasons why behind that, maybe that yeah, it's kind of very frustrating, very annoying,
embarrassing.
Yeah.
Your new album and the title of your documentary is A Call to Arms and Angels, the words that feature in it. Was this a coincidence?
Did think about that, but no, I mean, it is, yeah,
it's very fitting still.
I mean, it's a coincidence for sure.
Yeah.
It's very prophetic, the album, in a way. That's a horrible thing about the situation, is that, you know, the more the world kind of unfolds, it's just this era that we live in is just, you know, we have no idea what's going to happen next, you know. And I think a lot of the songs on our album are quite sort of, you know, there's a lot of optimism on it as well, but the sort of darker parts of the album sort of seem to become, you know, more real as time goes on.
Well, how about we check out the trailer for the documentary of your new album?
Right.
Thank you.
At RAC, it had been 18 months or so since we played together, and it was such a nice feeling, and to sort of, that organic thing. And it's something we've never done on an album, as far as I know. Not all of us in one room like that, and with John and Smiley and everyone.
Exactly.
And to go straight back in like that, it was that was like freedom again, you know, for us. I think
it really was.
A glimpse there of Archive's new documentary, a documentary that comes out on the 2nd of April, and a week later the album Call to Arms and Angels comes out as well. Now, I wanted to talk about this documentary because you decided to use the analogue format Super 8, which is very cool. I particularly like it, and it's a way of retracing your 12th studio album, the recording of. Why did you like Super 8 in particular and decide to go for that format?
Well, I mean, it was an idea that came from our manager about, you know, possible, you know, basically filming the, you know, the sort of making of, very roughly, that was the initial idea. And then, you know, the Super 8 thing came into it as a, you know, because it's a thing that you film and you don't have the narrative. Do you know what I mean? So it kind of creates this very sort of, it's almost like you're in a painting, you know?
It's a free flow in a way.
It's really interesting, the kind of the nostalgic feeling you get from it. It's another world. It basically takes you into another world. And I think, you know, being as surreal the world was at the time with the pandemic, it kind of all fitted in with that kind of surreal, strange kind of atmosphere that we wanted. And it just progressed from just documenting a bits and pieces and then into this whole film. I mean, you know, it's something we are so proud of, actually, of, you know, doing, aren't we?
The guys that have helped with it have been incredible.
They've been amazing.
Dean and Ben, the two directors, have just...
But also,
yeah, they've been,
I think you're realising in the past 10, 12 years, you know, you look at the Polaroids and you look at the Super 8, you listen to the analog. I mean, people know that that's kind of like what's real with all the digital age that's kind of coming and going and all these things.
You don't get a second chance.
No.
And
when you were
it
editing,
just makes everything look kind of how it is,
Yeah.
real, gives it an atmosphere, you know.
And when you were editing, did you have to go for scissors and slicing, like cutting
Not
fingers?
so much, but you'd have to talk to the director about the two guys who took the job on.
Thank goodness not.
Were just, you know, they're so artistic the way they dealt with. They kind of just themselves went into that world, you know, fully, and you know, just I couldn't recommend it more to people. And you know,
a lot of musicians, I'm going to take, you know, Billie Eilish or Taylor Swift for the big names, are releasing documentaries these days.
Yeah.
What made you want to do that? And also, did you find it distracting whilst you were making the album to have someone film?
Yeah,
I think we made it because we're more interesting than Billie Eilish and Taylor Swift.
I love Billie Eilish's first album, though. I do. I love it.
But I mean, the thing is, it wasn't meant to be a documentary. It's just the most amazing thing about it. It was literally just going to be them kind of coming around and filming bits and pieces. So it wasn't really that distracting. It was one of those projects that was so organic. Do you know what I mean? It just took the way of the pandemic. It took the way of the album we were creating. It took the way of everything that was going on in our lives. You know, with all of us having mental problems during all of that stuff that all people went through during this crazy time, you know,
and they themselves were going through it.
Yeah,
The directors, they were the same,
feeling.
so they were so, you know, made us feel so comfortable. And when you have a good directors like that, you just feel natural. They don't make you feel uncomfortable. They were so they're such warm guys. So it just
Well, how about we take a look at one of the videos from this new album that's about to be released just after the documentary. This is Day Coma. A track that you can find on the fabulous future release, because it comes out on the 8th of April, Archives, a new album. Another question I want to ask you is that you guys are from London, and but you have a very close relationship with France, and in some ways, to some audiences, you're more famous here. Would you say you agree with that? How do you explain this?
Yeah. Darius is going to have to answer this.
I mean, it's... I don't know really. I mean, it's something that very early on in our career, when we did Londinium, we had a nightmare in England because of the band broke up and the labels. We had 2 big deals early on in the UK, and it was all chaos and fighting and all the rest of it. But in France and in Europe, the record just kind of came out, and they got this kind of cult following, I'd say. You know what I mean? Like Londinium became this album that they really loved, you know. Yeah. And we'd even forgotten about that record. We didn't even care. We were just fighting all the time. And then suddenly we got a call from Island Records saying, you know, the record's really popular in France. You need to go there and do some promo, you know. You need to go and do interviews and stuff. We're like, but the band had already broken up. So me and Dan just went on our own. So Roy and Roscoe, it was just crazy. And then the French kind of fell in love with that early period. And just sort of took us on, and then it just sort of they saw our growth, you know, as a band. You know.
A breath
But
of fresh.
it's amazing. I love this country. You know.
Yeah, we know the real answer is that the French just know what good music is and they
Wow.
have great taste, you know.
Well, playing up to your audience, I know COVID and Brexit have been a great hindrance for the music industry. And that said, when can we expect to see Archive back on stage in France, but also the world at large?
Very soon now, because the tour is
Just announce the dates.
yeah, so early October.
Yeah, and
in October,
Bercy.
November.
Mercy, so huge stadium here in France.
It's our
That's great.
biggest gig ever in Paris. So
Yeah, to play the Bercy is going to be a very special moment for
yeah.
us. And,
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well,
proud.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for
Wow,
on
great.
today's show. But Dave, Danny, and Darius, Pollard,
fine, no
thank you so much.
Danny in spirit, yeah.
Danny's
Thank you,
always
Marjorie,
really
for having us.
fantastic.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. The latest news report is coming up in just a few minutes on France 24. Remember, you can follow all our culture news on france24.com and, of course, our social media platforms. That's at Encore F24. A reminder that Archives documentary and album are out at the start of April, and they're totally worth checking out. We're going to play out actually another one of your singles. This is Night People.
War has once more reared its head in Europe, recalling the darkest hours of our history.
Kiev is still about 30 kilometers away.
France 24 is providing constant coverage of events in Ukraine. Our teams on the ground and in the studio will keep you informed of all the latest developments. Stay informed, stay aware.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.